Hi, I'm Sean Ryan, and I was the Lawkeeper for the Little Warriors in Carindale Season 2. Today I'm going to take you through a quick rundown of the revised Downtime rules for Season 3, including how you can engage the factions at war, and the long-awaited Bastion mechanics released with the new Dungeon Master's Guide. For those of you new to our community, fret not, Downtime is an entirely optional activity. It occurs between sessions, and this year can be done in the privacy of your own home, although you are all invited to join us in Discord and do it there. For those of you who don't have the new rulebooks, also fret not, as all of the relevant rules for this season will be made available online and in hard copies for reference at the club. So let's jump into it. Downtime refers to anything that happens to your characters between sessions. It includes role-playing, which in most cases won't influence your character sheet, unless you insist on your character doing something incredibly foolish. It also includes crafting items, which provides your characters with a bit of bad luck protection. You can sell the items you have and use the gold to craft, or in some cases just buy outright the items you need. In Season 2, aid runs were immensely popular with a group of active players, and they will be returning in Season 3 as part of the faction warfare system. This is where you use your downtime to help decide who are the guild's friends, and who are going to be the end bosses or their minions who band together and try to end our collective existence. Whatever you do in downtime, you have 7 days to do it. That's in lore as well as in real time. All players have 7 days effort they can assign. It doesn't matter if you have multiple characters, or if you're hiring help from NPCs. It doesn't matter how big or small your bastion is, or if you even have a bastion. Regardless of who does stuff, you as a player have 7 days worth of stuff to assign. The only way to get more downtime is to convince another player to help you out with their time. For any of you who aren't particularly interested in roleplay or playing SimCity Dungeons & Dragons version, we'll get crafting out of the way first so you can stop this video and get back to your holiday. Season 3 is being split into 6 phases that controls what levels characters start at and what items they have access to. All items in Season 3 will be given out per an item plan, which just divvies up items into those phases. Core World tables, which are those tables that are collaborating as part of the club's central story arc, will only be allowing items appropriate to the phase we're in, so you can't walk in on week 6 and one-shot everything with your Staff of Power. This applies to crafting as well. However you do it, you can only craft items or consumables for the phase you're in or earlier. We use a modified scroll scribing table of our own, rather than the one in the player's handbook. This is to decrease the cost slightly for some mid-level scrolls, while also capping the level of scrolls that can be scribed to level 5. You can expect scrolls or items that provide higher level spell effects to be much more expensive to craft or obtain. Brewing potions requires your character to have proficiency with the herbalist kit or alchemy supplies, rules as written, but we've amended those slightly to also allow you to do this if you have brewer's kit proficiency, or you can have a laboratory in your bastion. You don't need access to special equipment. You can assume the guild has an alchemy lab for you to borrow. Our crafting rules detail the time and cost to make potions depending on what phase they become available. Other consumables use the same rules as potions, but may require different proficiencies to craft. Permanent items get a little more complex, although we have removed all the resource requirements we had in Season 2. Crafting in Season 3 only requires gold, time, and the appropriate skill or bastion facility. Included in the rules is a table depicting what items can be crafted with what proficiency, and we've provided more exact details on the item plan. It can take up to 28 days, 4 full weeks of downtime, to create the most powerful items. But to start with, most are just going to take you a week or 2. If you don't have the proficiency required to make an item, you can ask your fellow guildies, or hire an NPC guild craftsperson for 100 gold per day. Or you can build a facility in your bastion that contains a hireling with the required skills. Some of the most powerful items cannot be bought. They can only be crafted or found in an adventure. Those looking for the optimal way to get their gauntlets of ogre power as early as possible can tune out now. We're about to dive into something much less interesting. Global faction warfare across a multiverse. In Season 2, I tracked the guild's relations with other factions of Eleonora behind a curtain where you couldn't see. In Season 3, that curtain gets lifted. On World Anvil, we'll track the zones of control for each faction, along with their strength, and renown, which is the guild's reputation with that faction. Scores are out of 20, and higher scores are better. As the season progresses, these factions will make war on each other, and if a faction unfriendly to the guild wipes out a faction where your bastion is located, that bastion will be attacked or even just wiped off the map. Other big bad NPCs, such as Zastam of Thay, will have their own agendas, and how well they achieve them, or how well you prevent them from achieving them, will influence how challenging their boss fight will be. Each week you can perform an aid run. This sends a caravan of supplies to a target faction. The aid run can be any size, but the guild can only send 2 per week. Declare who's going on the aid run and what goods you're going to bring to them. You can assume you and the guild can acquire the goods. The storehouse facility in a bastion can also have an impact on aid runs. Depending on who you bring and how badly the faction needs the goods you're supplying, your aid run will have an effect on the strength and renown of the target faction. Factions also have counterfactions, which are like governments in opposition, or crazy anarchists trying to burn the world down, or anything in between, really. You can target counterfactions with aid runs or with many bastion activities to either suppress or support them, consolidating your allies' power or undermining the power of your guild's enemies. On Friday, a news breakdown in the Tomfoolery Inn will provide you with the results of any aid runs and an overview of what's changed with what factions, who hates us, who loves us, who's on the warpath and about to remake reality as we know it. Cass. Bastions are a shiny new mechanic in the 2024 rules, and I'm really excited to bring it to Carindale. Every character can build a bastion for free, and although the rules are in the Dungeon Master's Guide, not the Player's Handbook, don't worry, we'll be providing a revised set of them for use by everyone in Carindale. For a demonstration, Guinea D made a great video on YouTube called Let's Make a Home Base in 2024 D&D, which I do recommend, but I'll be doing something similar here with the slightly revised rules for Carindale. A bastion has a location, which can be anywhere, but those who are interested in the faction warfare side of things would be advised to put your bastion where it can make a difference on the world stage, while those more interested in crafting should place theirs somewhere relatively safe. You can also place your bastion out in the wilderness, which is probably safe, but prevents it from influencing factions at all. Let me know where you want to put your bastion, and the librarians will get it added to the map. You can move your bastion or abandon and rebuild it at any time. Your bastion will also come with a bastion post on a Discord forum. There you can post anything your bastion does that influences the world, so DMs can update faction scores. You can and should map your bastion and show it off to the rest of the guild. Bastions can be invaded and burned to the ground in a grand adventure, and that's usually the fun part. And mapping your bastion is your chance as a player to tell the DM what the map should look like when we kick your door down and flood your home with stormtroopers. Your bastion has 2 types of facilities, basic and special. Basic facilities are bedrooms, dining rooms, and the like. They're where your character lives. You get 2 of these for free and can purchase more for reasons. Vanity, I guess. You can also place corridors, stairs, and furniture for free, and if you're that way inclined, you can map your bastion in a logical fashion, or connect everything with mazes. You do you. Special facilities do other things, and this is where we've modified some of those provided by the official rules to make some facilities more meaningful, where they otherwise seemed pointless in our format, and to provide a way for them to tie in to factions for those so interested. You get 2 special facilities at level 5, another 2 at level 9, and a 5th at level 13. You can also replace one special facility with another whenever you level up, or repick all of them if you abandon your bastion or rebuild it. We're providing the full list of all possible special facilities, and it can get a bit daunting, but don't worry too much at first. You're only level 5, and you only get 2 special facilities, which you can select from only 9 possibilities. So it's not like you have to memorize the whole sheet to get started. There'll be plenty of time for that later. At level 5, you have access to the Arcane Study, Armory, Barracks, Garden, Library, Sanctuary, Smithy, Storehouse, or Workshop. Some special facilities have a prerequisite, like the Arcane Study, which requires your character to be able to use a spellcasting or arcane focus. All facilities have a size, which is how much size or space it should take on your map, and one or more actions. Some actions are passive and always apply, but most will take some degree of downtime and maybe also some gold. Remember, it doesn't matter if your character itself uses downtime or your bastion. You as a player still only have 7 days of downtime effort per week. Your bastion is like a little mini faction, an ambassador of the guild, so it has its own strength and renown score, but your renown score is usually tied and equal to the guild renown with that faction that controls whatever territory you're building in, and your bastion renown will rise or fall with the guild's renown. Your strength is a measure of military might and political clout, and represents how well your bastion can project power and defend itself. If both scores get too low, your bastion gets invaded. You can decouple your bastion from the guild's reputation by building it under false colors, setting up a false identity for yourself and your hirelings. This lets you build bastions in places that might not otherwise be friendly to you. But if you do this and are discovered, you'll be forced back in sync with the guild reputation, and that reputation will take a hit. And the stronger your bastion is, the more likely it is to be discovered. So keeping a low profile might mean taking a risk and not hiring so many guards. You can also link your bastions with those of other players. There's no direct benefit to doing so when crafting items. You can't just use your neighbor's tools and order their butler around because they happen to be next door. But you can share bastion defenders, which are relevant if your bastion is attacked. And you are considered one bastion as far as your strength and renown are concerned. So you can absolutely be more influential on the world stage if you collaborate with several players to build a sprawling bastion complex. To demonstrate bastions in action, I'm going to build a bastion for Miko Tanner and her new satyr friend, Daphne Skiphoof. If you're following roleplays, you might know these two are in a town called Estergård. Daphne's on the run from the Arcane Eye, but Miko insists on taking the initiative. So they've decided to build their bastion just across the square from the Arcane Eye's outpost here. What could possibly go wrong with that? Both characters are high level, but for this demonstration I'm going to start as if they're both level 5, then increase them both to 9. I start mapping by putting the entire complex just south of a road. Miko and Skips are trying to keep a low profile, so they'll be forking out the 200 gold to make their bastion under a false identity. But they don't dislike Lord Arturo Valance, who rules here, and they don't really want to anger him. So Miko will be investing in facilities that help them keep a low profile, or reduce the impact if she's discovered. Skips will do things less wisely, at first. To help keep things hidden, they're setting up above an existing local business, a bakery or a saddlery or other craftsperson in town, so they're living on the second floor. I start with the basic facilities. Each of them get 2, a 16 square and a 4 square. Both are going to choose bedroom for their 16 square, as these girls like their privacy. Miko will choose kitchen for her 4 square, and Skips will accompany that with a 4 square storeroom. They're all linked by a main hallway to the south. Most rogues would probably like a garden for poisons, or a smith for weapons, but Miko's not that type of rogue, and this isn't that type of bastion. Miko builds a decorative garden for some way to generate gold when she's got nothing better to do with her downtime, and to help keep her bastion hidden. Who would suspect a flower store? She's also got work to do figuring out what the Arcane Eye is really after, so she attaches a library to help her research. Daphne Skiphoof would like to add a sanctuary for the charms of healing word, but she's a bard, not a cleric. She'll have to settle for an arcane study. At least this will let her cast Identify on anything Miko steals, and allow for some basic item crafting. She's also going to grab a barracks and fill it with big, strong men to keep her safe. Because, sure, that's not going to attract attention. Is it, Skips? I'm mapping on Incarnate, which I have a premium account with, but the free-to-use version still has a bunch of core art stamps to help you flesh out your maps. I want this to be believable, so the kitchen looks a bit bland, and Daphne's bedroom deliberately has no seats in it. Bringing in seats made for satyr would attract attention, so she's just going to settle for some rugs and a bunch of cushions. In a small corridor linking Skip's study to the main complex, I put a table with a spyglass aimed at the arcane eye. I also add stairs down from the barracks, as the girls can't be climbing out of the windows, and I add rooftops and neighbouring buildings to sell the illusion of this complex being on the second floor of a busy city street. I hope to expand downstairs at level 9 on a separate map. At level 9, Miko's a bit stuck. She's looking forward to the Thieves Guild and Meditation Chamber at level 13, but what to do in the meantime? A scriptorium gets attached to Skip's arcane study. Miko can use this to gain the ability to craft any scroll from any spell list, which might be more helpful to her father and Skip's than herself, but she can also use it to help counter any damage to the guild's reputation if they're ever discovered. A greenhouse also gets added to help stock up on better healing potions. It'll probably be what gets replaced by the Thieves Guild. Daphne is just hitting her stride. She chooses a theatre. Wait, it's not as insane as it sounds. She can use it to curry favour with the locals, to grant bardic inspiration to Miko, even if it's too risky for Daphne herself to accompany her, and its passive also helps keep them hidden. All those soldiers upstairs, they're just stage seconds, lighting crew, and other assistants, right? She finishes with a gaming hall, giving further options for passive income or influencing local politics. The girls aren't really doing much to turn their home into an industrial centre, but they can still craft basic items and scrolls, and they're plausibly embedded into local society. No one suspects a thing. There's just one problem. Incarnate doesn't have dice or casino art or stamps or trappings, so I'll have to make do with candles and paper. Then it hits me. It's not that type of gaming hall. It's our type of gaming hall. I hope you've enjoyed this rundown of how Downtime will work in Season 3. I hope this gives you inspiration and ideas for what your characters will be doing between sessions this season. And above all, I do hope to see you all in Carindale in 2025. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This is Sean Ryan, signing off.